Welcome back to here at Goldberg. Today we have to talk about the Baldcel Epidemic. Yes, I know there's going to be those who say, why do you have to turn your fusillade against us? What do we ever do to you? Nothing. It is my destiny, and I have to pursue it even if there are bleeding hearts by the wayside. In this case, it reminds me of a scene from history. Perhaps you've come across it in your time machine travels, but ostensibly it goes, Archers, I beg your pardon, Stacy. Won't we hit our own cocks? Yes, but we'll hit theirs as well. We have reserves. Attack! In any case, I'm not going to do the whole, nostalgic, clown world. Back in the day, no one was bold. It's obviously untrue. However, I see it since I was a kid even, which I was very observant, have a strong memory, quite vivid. I don't remember seeing so many guys going bold, especially young men. Now, obviously, there was the tradition amongst Africans of guys just having the head totally shaved. There are some black women that choose to be bald cells as a style, but increasingly Newman's own Mayo cells, especially guys in the military law enforcement, have been shaving off the crown line. And I support that in general. I think it looks better. I did see a guy the other day. He had not quite just a crown line. It was creeping up the top a bit, but there was this huge jagged slash right down the center of the head on top, and he was trying to comb it over. It's like, nah, brah, nah. Just take it off, put some oil on there. Maybe be like the priest from Indiana Jones with the red paint. You could be like a tomato sauce cell. Just saying. But I want to point this out. The distinguished scholar of Islamic history, Amr Metwali, he's noted the reason he thinks a lot of Middle Easterners and South Asians have balding problems is because of inbreeding. I don't know if that's 100% on the money, although I have noticed some of the populations that are moving in around where I am, just the faces, I sometimes wonder, like, was your mom and dad, were they like close, like first cousins? I don't know. Regardless, you see this here, and Mohammed bin Salman, for a Gulf Arab, he's pretty good looking. Now, just a quick aside, if you look at the history of the Ottoman Empire, and most Muslim states to begin with, they would usually go and marry like European, Slavic women, even Mediterranean women, more towards the European side, to have their heirs. And you can see this with the fact that a lot of the Ottoman sultans, even though they have a big beard and a turban, they are visibly European-looking people. I wonder if the original folks that were starting these Muslim empires realized that there was a problem with the desert-dwelling people marrying into their family too much, and maybe they thought we have to step outside. So that's still, there's not enough information to make any valid conclusions, but I think it's kind of fascinating. Anyway, MBS, not a bad looking guy by Gulf Arab standards, but he's doing what you call Gutra coping. For those of you who are not aware, the Gutra is this, you got the kind of like rubber things on top or corded stuff and the headdress. But look what happens when he takes it off. It's kind of like one of those TikTok with the makeup versus not the makeup. Look at that. I mean, that is brutal. He's getting his pincushion, and look at that right there. Now he's got money, and he can probably get hair implants at some point, grow something on the top, mold, I don't know, maybe like do like a hydroponic garden. He can do something because he has the resources and means, and even so, just through money, he can hire Instagram models. But think if you're just like a poor, Gulf Arab cell. Just all you have is traditional Islam. And by the way, the lady who was related to Osama bin Laden, she wrote a book where she was saying, even these traditional Muslim women who are kept at home, they will have affairs with, men behind their husband's back while he's being like a construction executive cell, or they'll even have affairs with each other, lesbian stuff. So that's kind of interesting. We have to try to get at what's going on precisely. What is causing all this nonsense? There is this study that says it comes from the maternal side. There's also people that push back against it and claim, no, it can actually be both. It can skip some generations. I'll say this. My maternal grandfather, who I never met, died in his 60s. He was already pretty solidly just with a crown line by the time he was gone. Now, he had a very difficult life, was an orphan, worked in a coal mine, never had money. On the paternal side, until he got cancer, he had pretty much a full head of hair, slightly thinning into his 70s. But chemotherapy does that. My dad is a cancer survivor, and even after he did all the treatment, he still was able to grow a substantial amount of hair. It's gray now. It's a little bit starting to thin, but not nearly as bad. I'm talking about guys in their early 20s that they already got like basically a crown line, or you can sell when the hair is really stuck far back, like if you're a Himmler style where you got that kind of sprouting with a big forehead, those guys go bald almost to the money. And you say, what's going on here? Besides the obvious culprit of genetics, I think it's lifestyle in general. I mean, you have to think how stressed people are. They go and, you sit in a commute and they work as a management or salesperson trying to make the numbers. They're very obsessed. They live beyond their means, which means they have to keep working just to provide for this lifestyle. That's why I've elected for a lower status position right now, minimal stress. I used to work in a plant. I worked as a tradesman, high stress, physically, mentally. You're around the elements. You're around a lot of toxic chemicals. I probably still have something dormant inside of me that will, check me out later on down the road. But now I have a very relaxed job that is a combination of, you sit in front of a computer for a while, but you also get up and move around and do stuff. So that's a huge benefit because stress will, accelerate it. Eating like crap because you don't have time to cook will accelerate it. Don't be one of those people, even if you don't make a lot of money, you're like, if I could just be a ramen and ketchup sale, I can max out my 401k. No. Spend money on decent food, make stuff from scratch. It takes a little bit more time, but it's worth it for your own health. That's certainly the case. And then all the chemicals, whether it's in the water supply that you're consuming. I have now a gravity working water filter that supposedly takes care of fluoride. I'm not sure if I believe it, but we'll see. It does taste better than water that's fluoridated in the general sense, though. And also, dumping too many chemicals in your hair is not a good idea either. The flip side to that is that you can benefit to a limited degree. So this is, of course, if you have hair. So I had seen this redhead at the Starbucks a few months ago, and she had this kind of lighter red tone hair, but very shiny. And I was like, how do you get it to be that way? Because I figured it wasn't natural. She's like, oh, it's argan oil. So I looked this stuff up. I ended up getting some from Trader Joe's because I don't want to get like the crappy Walmart brand. And it's amazing because I have a lot of hair, even though, I'm like late 20s. I have a lot of hair. And a lot of dudes, they don't even make it this far. I mean, I remember seeing guys I knew 7 years ago. They were already freaking gone or very close to it. But you just take a few drops, you put it, kind of sleek it through the hair, put it in your beard, and it makes it look so much better because I had this dry hair that if I would dry it too much with a blow dryer, even the towel, it would look really almost crispy, and then the light you look like was thinning or balding, which is not the case. It's just that it's very dry. So put this stuff on there. It gives it a kind of shiny dark brown with almost wisps of gold. Looks fantastic. And women notice that because it's a symbol of virility. So you can't put that aside. It's very useful. Highly advise you check that out. It's worth doing, especially if you don't have hair that's naturally kind of lush or whatever. Also, try to avoid wearing hats. Many of you are into the Luke Bryan or Cole Swindell style. No, just stay away from the ballpark hats. Try not wear hats in general. It's just bad. Your hair needs to breathe. Hats, depending on how well they fit, they can cut off circulation, which is not really good either. Spend enough time outside, but be careful about the job you're working in, and try to eat decently well. As I said before, some of the stuff that comes up, and I don't know how confirmed it is, but like fish, eggs, strawberries, chia seeds, they're beneficial for your hair, supposedly. And in part, it's going to be up to genetics, but like I said, whether you choose to do the Brosley thing, because this is not the 1970s, or you shave it off, I think that's better than keeping the crown line. At the same time, we're going to have this discussion because it's something that I really don't like to see. This was out of Australia. And bald people are sexy, though. If you just go based on stigmas, you might miss out on someone pretty awesome. A bald man is much cooler than someone with no personality and great hair that's probably going to go eventually. And up here they go, look at these stars like Jason Statham, Vin Diesel, and Dwayne The Rock Johnson. Some of the sexiest people in the world are bald. Yeah, they're also celebrities, right? So why don't these folks, instead of saying have a great personality, why don't you just say be a celebrity? Just become like go to the New York Film Academy, be a celebrity. Like that would be, that's what I told guys. I said, you're better off if you're into like anime, that you do a really successful anime YouTube channel and pick up some cosplay chick, then like, oh yeah, I'm gonna have a great personality. It's just like silly. Do something you actually like, or if you want to go into acting, fine. But that's just a stupid argument because if you look at all these guys, yes, they are bold, but they have a decent facial structure, right? The problem is if you have like, let's say you're that white guy with a round, bald head and the small ears, almost like the Goonies creature, that doesn't look good, right? So, oh, you got a great personality. Or like myself, I shaved my head for something back in college, and if you have a skin tag, it looks a little bit awkward. But big ears that are kind of set up, and kind of the shape of the head goes down to the chin, so it doesn't look the best. More prominent nose is slightly crooked, so that's again with glasses, it's not the best look. The hair is fundamental, and don't let someone tell you, oh yeah, hair doesn't matter. Hair does matter. If you don't have hair and you have a symmetrical face, you have a better shot. But if you don't have that period, it's a little bit more gnarly, and you may want to look into one of those hair restoration, or even hell, wearing a toupee. Nothing wrong with that, no shame. Now, I have a solid personality, yes. This is because I'm not so cynical about human nature that I don't know how to approach it the right way. So what I'll do is I'll smile a lot, not in the cheesy soy way, but you smile without teeth, and halfway mischievous, but usually just laid back and content, because what girls will do is they'll get curious, like,
Why is he happy if he's not with me?
yeah, that's a good question. But yeah, you're just doing that. I do stuff like I'll just notice their fingernails or their shoes or their earrings. This is stuff a lot of guys don't do because that's homosexual. Good for you. But that makes them curious, and they're like, whoa, this person's attentive. A lot of dudes don't even bother with that stuff. So I've got a pretty solid personality, and it allows you to sort of mess with the girls, and they realize that you're joking with them, but they're also curious about you. At the same time, I have a full head of hair, argan oil, so it looks very virile, lush. I'm also over 6 feet. So you can't dismiss all that stuff. If I was a Baldcel, I could do that stuff, but it would be kind of like this creepy looking Baldcel with a beard and glasses doing the same thing. So the image is a little bit off. And I'm not hating on anyone who's bald. I'm saying, let's find a solution for you. You can use that argan oil even if you are like you have it shaved, but you got a decent, let's say, balanced features. You can put it on your head; it'll glisten. It will actually look nice. That's what I would do if I ever go bald. I'm gonna do that. But if you have the money, do one of those procedures. Even look into a toupee, and there's no shame in that. Or instead of let's say instead of the ballpark hat, some guys can rock like the bandana. Doesn't look too bad. There are solutions. It's not the end of the world. It just becomes more difficult, is all I'm saying. And my goal really is to be like Bob Hawke, the former Prime Minister of Australia, and have like tons of puffy white hair in your 80s. So I make it that long. That'd be awesome. But yeah, the Baldcel epidemic is a tragedy of sorts. It doesn't have to be the end for you. There are some kinds of solutions, but I would say if you really have that going on, like early 20s, and you don't quite have the resources for like hair plugs or whatever, resource max, because that's going to matter. And that applies to all men. Use your 20s wisely, as I was saying in the bowler video, or else if you go around living this super stressful lifestyle trying to satisfy everyone's assumptions of who you're supposed to be, you get very stressed out trying to juggle multiple women, trying to have the job, trying to do the max workout, do all this stuff. You're going to be a bowler. No, you're going to be a Baldcel, and it's bad for other parts of your health. So just, try to have a balanced lifestyle, eat correctly, exercise, make money, but don't drive yourself into a miserable tech neck Baldcel early grave because you have to keep up with the world. It really doesn't matter that much. It matters that you're healthy and that you're happy, ultimately.